Hi, my love. Welcome to the Godly Femme podcast. My name is Jumoke Wynn, and here we discuss all things Christian hypergamy, leveling up, and godly femininity. Check us out at godlyfemme.com. So, how to increase your leverage on the dating market? Disclaimer: this podcast in particular is probably going to offend some of my older audience. It's going to ruffle some feathers. And if you're someone who you don't like the truth and you think the truth is just an attack on you, then this may not be for you. But for the rest of you, especially my younger and more impressionable audience, I really want you to listen up and gain what you can from this podcast. So when I say leverage, all right, it's important to understand that marriage is not owed to you. I know we think in Disney. Some of us have even taken our Disney mentality with us while we were Christians. And we have this idea that if we pray hard enough and we don't change, right, that God now owes us a husband and a good marriage simply because we waited a long time. We prayed a lot. We did 10 backflips on the altar. Therefore, we are owed a good marriage. And that is not the truth. All right. We live in this world. We're not of this world, but we live in this world. And when it comes to the dynamics of dating and marriage, it's very important to just accept. It's not even understand, it's just acceptance. The access to commitment and marriage lay in the hands of men. Men control who gets married. Unless if you're going to go find some weak man to propose to because you're just a go-getter, right? The authority to create families lay in the hands of men. Men lead families. Men are the head. They cover, they protect, they provide. Okay? So, for a man to lay down his life, right, for a woman and the subsequent family he's going to build with her is not a small task that a man can be forced and coerced into, right? So with that being said, there's supply and demand when it comes to the dating market. And there's some things that you have to understand throughout history, the Bible, everywhere, culturally, transcends all of it. Okay? And when it comes to men and women, there is a transaction. I know we don't like that word. We're like, oh, a transactional relationship. Oh, they're a transactional relationship. Listen, marriage has always been transactional, right? Marriage has never been about love. The people who are getting divorced at the highest rates are people who married for love. And once all the gooey, feelings dissipate, then you're like, oh my gosh, who did I marry? And then you're looking at all the practical things after you married for love. And you realize, hey, this is not all that it's cut out to be. This is why I encourage you, young ladies, to be hypergamous, right? If you're going to marry and say yes to someone for the rest of your life, make it easy, okay? Make it easy. So with that being said, how can you increase your leverage on the dating market, right? Now, when we're talking about the dating market, we're not talking about who you are intrinsically as a woman. You have value as a woman, right? Because you're an image bearer. But when it comes to the dating market, we're talking about being a highly sought after woman. Okay, what makes a woman highly sought after that all these men are running to be with her, to marry her, to provide for her? This is what we're talking about. What makes a woman more highly sought after versus what makes a woman not as highly sought after? Okay, and you want to increase your leverage so that you can get the best possible outcome for yourself in life. Because back then you didn't have to worry about none of this. Your parents were the ones who prepared you for marriage, and your parents were the ones who arranged a marriage for you so they found rest for you, right? They found security in marriage for you. But since we don't have that culture anymore, a lot of the burden of finding a mate falls on us. And if that burden falls on us, we have to be aware. So historically, a woman's highest bargaining power was a few things. One, it was youth, right? No brainer, right? Women who are younger are more highly sought after than women who are older. If all things being equal, a woman who is 23 versus a woman who's 43, if the general market of men had to choose, they probably choose the woman who is 23. Okay. And we're not talking about men who have been divorced and, you know, um, okay, that's a whole nother story. I can talk about the different, we'll get there. Let me, let me continue what I was saying, because I know I'm going to start going on a sidetrack. Another thing that is your leverage on the dating market is fertility, which ties into youth. There's an assumption, which is backed scientifically. The younger you are, the more fertile you are, right? Now, I know a lot of people, again, the women who are going to get offended, oh, but I know someone who got pregnant at 52. That's great. It's not to say that women cannot um, have children after a certain age, but there is a trend and your fertility sharply declines after 35. So for all the women that you're saying, hey, they're 52 and they had a baby, they're 42, they had a baby, like 90% of the population is going through perimenopause and by that age. So it is a gamble, right, for a man who wants to settle down and build a family. It's a gamble for a man to marry a woman who is older, right? Unless if she has a document, she went to the fertility clinic and they said, hey, this is how fertile she is. She still has another 10 years of fertility. If you don't have that proof, the only thing that historically men have to go on is your age. Okay? So youth, fertility, virginity, right? This is all tied together. Virginity is a high bargaining power. If you're new to dating, you'll probably find out really quickly. Men want sex. Okay? Christian men, worldly men, they're all the same. Men want sex. Historically, the reason why men married, a huge reason, probably the main reason, was to have access to consistent sex, right? So now men, because sex has been so freely accessible because of, second and third wave feminism, most men will not even abstain, right, with a woman who is not a virgin, right? They're not going to do it. So if you're a young woman and you're still a virgin, and you're like, I'm in college and everyone's telling me that I should just lose it, I should lose it, don't do it. And yes, for your own righteousness and sanctification. Absolutely, because you want to please God. But there's also practical reasons to keep your virginity as a woman. All right? There are practical reasons, simply because you have a higher leverage in the dating market. A woman who is promiscuous or has many sexual partners is less desirable in the dating market. So let's say you were about to go down that path, you only had sex with one or two dudes, keep it like that, right? Don't add any more bodies. I know this, like, maybe you never heard anyone say this. Maybe your mama never said this so bluntly to you, but I have to say it, right? Somebody has to say it. But don't rack up bodies and think that that makes you more desirable. No. There's a difference between being desired by a man sexually and being valued by a man for marriage. The end goal is marriage. It doesn't matter how many men are like, oh, wow, you're so hot, you're so sexy, I want to sleep with you. That means nothing if men are not running to you with proposals and saying, you're my wife. It means nothing. That short-term game, do not use your youth and squander your youth being a concubine. In your youth, this is the time that you want to settle down. You want to cash out when you're young. Okay? Cash out in your 20s. If you're going to be hypergamous, cash out in your 20s. Don't wait until your 30s to be like, yeah, finally, I finished all these degrees and I did all this stuff. Listen, one day you're going to age. Like I'm saying, this is your leverage right here. You're going to age. You're not going to be as highly sought after as you were when you were younger. You're not going to have the same quality and number of men to choose from. Dating is not the same versus, 25, 35, 45. It's not the same, right? You have to really change how you approach dating if you want to get married in different stages. But I have, again, my audience is younger women, but really try to consider these things. And the last thing that is leverage power is looks. It's no surprise that women who are more attractive get more attention, right? And we're talking about women who are naturally beautiful, but also you can leverage this as well. You can always enhance your beauty. That's why I always encourage you, young women, to maintain your femininity, maintain your feminine allure, practice feminine maintenance as a young lady. See yourself as the prize, treat yourself as the prize. And all this to say that this is just a nice place that we can, I don't want to say end, but as far as the list of what is the highest leveraging power that women have, it's these few things. And this transcends through culture and time. Okay? So if you can cash out when you're young with these few things, and even if you, let's say you lost your virginity, okay, cool. If you're still young, you're still fertile, you still look good, all right? There's other ways to bolster your leverage in the dating market so that you are more desirable as a woman. So there's, again, working on your looks. There's not sleeping with any more men. You're already young. I would say other things, and let's say you're a little bit older. You're in my audience, but let's say you're maybe in your late 20s, early 30s. You're in your 30s, right? There's still time for you. Obviously, men still marry women in their 30s. But you have to have leverage in other areas if you are an older woman, okay? So things like, for example, domestication. That's cooking and cleaning, keeping a home. If you want a provider man, right? Sharpen these skills to bolster your leverage. Another thing could be class status, okay? This could be social climbing, jumping classes. If you're someone who's of working class, then what you can leverage is acclimating to a higher social class so that when a man says, oh, okay, this woman is, wow, she is different. She shares the values of someone who's in a higher social class, or maybe you want to date and marry a man who is of higher socioeconomic class, at least you have commonality. Femininity, okay? Understanding masculine and feminine dynamics, knowing how to speak to men, being soft, being vulnerable. If you just understand how to communicate with men in a feminine way and you are more feminine as a woman, you can bolster your leverage on the dating market. And the last thing is character. Okay, if you're someone who has bad character, you're not highly desired. If you're someone who, again, you are prideful. I said all this on this podcast. Maybe you kept listening and you're offended. You're offended. Why? Because you don't fall into certain categories and you feel like I'm attacking you. I'm not attacking you, right? If you take any type of correction or criticism as an attack and you're not humble and you don't have this mindset like, you know what can I do in my own life to just be better? You're right. Let me take that and apply it so that I can get the results that I want. If you don't have that type of attitude and you have a character of just, you don't want to be accountable, you're easily offended, you block people who tell you the truth, that sucks. Okay? That sucks. If you're someone who's not kind, a woman who's not kind, if you're a woman who is not integral and you have bad character, that can significantly diminish your leverage when it comes to the dating market. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Godly Femme podcast. If you would like more help in your femininity journey, make sure that you do sign up for our 7-day Godly Femininity Challenge, and also that you join our free Facebook mentorship group, Black Hypergamous Christian Women. All the details are in the description.